Former President Trump kicking off the weekend with a sold-out rally in Aurora, Colorado, as Democrats' concern over Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign continue to grow. In fact, one Democratic analyst says he's scared to death, and maybe he should be. Trump is taking his presidential pitch, meanwhile, to the city he describes as a war zone over the flood of migrants to the city. That's why he's going to a blue state in the middle of a hot presidential campaign to highlight the failed border policies of the Biden-Harris administration and their impact on you, the everyday American. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Kayleigh McEnany here with my co-host, Emily Campagno. Also joining us, Cheryl Casoni, Fox Business anchor and host of American Dream Home on Fox Business. Tomi Lahren, Fox News contributor and host of Tomi Lahren is Fearless on Outkick. And Todd Pyro on a Friday, Fox and Friends co-host. All right, well, we begin in Aurora, Colorado, where Aishah Hasnie has the latest on the Trump campaign. Aishah.
Hey there. Well, this campaign is really shaking things up. Everyone that I talk to, and I mean everyone, is talking about this visit. Some opinions are great, some opinions not so good, but he is really shaking things up in Colorado, specifically because this is what he said he would do in Aurora if he wins the White House this November. Watch.
I will send a federal law enforcement, large group of people, but a tough group of people to liberate Aurora, Colorado. The governor of Colorado is a coward. He's afraid to do what you have to do.
So he's talking about Democratic Governor Jared Polis, who is trying to get ahead of this visit, writing this. The former president, when he gets here, will find, quote, incredible city with 2 straight years of rapidly declining crime. So that's not entirely accurate. Crime is down citywide in Aurora, but police report an increase in aggravated assaults in the area of the apartment buildings, especially the one that we saw in that video. We don't know if these men that you see in the video are part of the Tren de Aragua gang. That's the gang that everyone talks about here. It's hard to identify these guys because police, Kayleigh, have not even apprehended all of them. I believe only one person right now is in custody. But the city's Republican mayor has admitted to Fox News that, yes, there was a problem. They're trying to get their hands around this problem because before it becomes a bigger deal. They are trying to figure this out. Again, the president really stirring things up by bringing the campaign trail and the issue that he talks about a lot right in the heart of where it's happening. Kayleigh?
No doubt. Aishah, keep us updated. Thank you. You know, Emily, Trump has a pretty robust campaign schedule. He's in Aurora this afternoon. He then goes to Reno, Nevada. And at first, you know, people are puzzled. He has this blue state strategy. We're in the middle of a campaign. He's going to Coachella in California and then Aurora, Colorado, and he announced Madison Square Gardens in New York City. But this is kind of a sign of confidence. They must be looking at their internal polls, feeling really good, and thinking, let's make a splash. Let's have some fun now.
Yeah, Reno, the biggest little city in the world, right? One of my favorites, obviously. Look, this is what's important about his confidence, is that it interweaves with the Democrats, sort of the widespread messaging that they are in a panic. And here's my advice to everyone. It's for the Republicans not to get too safe, not to get too comfortable, and to realize that the Democrats, like everything, are using that simply as a tool. Now, we have headlines that have littered throughout mainstream media, The Hill, Politico, AP. Democrats are anxious. Democrats hit the panic button, haunted by 2016. The list goes on. And then you see how it is harnessed by, for example, former President Obama. You anxious? Get out and get the vote out, right? There's a huge campaign centered around this panic button, and all that will do is flock them and flood them to the ballots even more than Republicans. So I love the display of confidence because I feel like, unlike the Dems, it's actually based on reality, but we cannot get too confident. No one can sit home in November. No one at all, either party.
There's the headlines, and no doubt that's been the theme of this week, Democrats panicking. And then there's even on-the-record Democrats, smart Democrats, top-debt Democrats panicking. Let's watch Carville. Let's watch Axelrod.
Only thing I feel is the election's coming November 5th. And I'm scared to death, and I'll get a time to, you know, obviously.
You're not in a reflective mood.
Not in a particular reflective mood right now. I'm very, very concerned.
I think the vibe right now isn't great. There's concern. I'm not minimizing the fact that I do think she stalled out about 10 days after the debate.
I mean, Cheryl, it's a definite shift from Democrats who are kind of truth tellers in the party.
Right. Well, okay, you have James Carville, who he's Bill Clinton's, right-hand guy, or he was, and he knows what he's talking about. They must be seeing something in their internal polling that is telling them how much more she's in trouble than the polling that we see. Because the polling that we have, there was a new Wall Street Journal poll out today, close race in all the swing states. Some have Trump up by 5 points, like in Nevada, for instance. As far as David Axelrod, I think he's using his television appearances to coach her and to get a message directly to her and to Tim Walz that you need to start speaking the language of the moderates and you need to start answering questions. And by the way, I had Newt Gingrich on with me this morning on Fox Business, and I asked him the same exact question about why all of a sudden do you have James Carville coming out here and saying that he's scared? And he said, look, the reason that Clinton and Obama are going out and hitting the campaign trail for her is because of the panic button. He said that's a true thing. He also said it's going to hurt her because you're going to have 2 actual presidents who were leaders and that she's going to look weak compared to Obama and Clinton. I thought that was an interesting choice of words from Newt.
It is. Todd, I go back to the polling errors in 2016 and in 2020, and they did go against Trump. They underpolled Trump voters. Not the same for the midterms. Everyone thought red wave, so the midterm polls overestimated the Republican voter. But this is the poll I keep going back to. If the polls have that same error, kind of undercounting the Trump voter, this is the reason I'd be panicking. You see Harris is up 1.8% nationally. Biden at this time was up 10.6% nationally, 5 times the lead Harris has.
And so you have to ask the question, why? And I think this has 100% to do with the fact that we are about 3 weeks away from the election. And Kamala Harris still can't deliver that bite-sized nugget thesis statement. Remember when we were in school, you had to deliver the thesis statement, that one main takeaway for every paper you wrote? We still don't know what that thesis statement is from her on the economy. She wants to help the middle class. Great, so does everybody. That's not a plan. What's her plan on immigration? She goes back and forth, doesn't come up with any specifics, whereas Donald Trump delivers bite-sized nuggets that when you're in the voting booth, you can take away. The only deliverable that she delivers on the campaign trail is that Trump is a threat to democracy. And I think at this point, that is mere background noise, especially in those blue wall states that are the main concern for the Democrats right now. Because if you're a 45-year-old guy like me, undecided in your vote, what are you focused on? This concept of democracy or the fact that you're having trouble paying for your kids? To me, the latter resonates more with somebody my age, and I think that's what's hurting her in the blue wall right now.
Tommy, let's go a layer deeper, because the headlines have not just been Democratic panic, but Democratic panic over some of the crosstabs in the polls. And you see this here. You see the Hill, Democrats fearing that Harris is losing too many male voters to Trump. USA Today and Razor Close Nevada, Latino men shy away from Harris. And Wall Street Journal, Kamala struggling to break through with working class voters. These are huge subgroups that Democrats must win, or at least excel somewhat with.
Also want to say, I don't believe it has anything to do with her being a woman. I don't think that's why she's having a problem with male voters. I think it's because she doesn't connect with them, to your point, Todd, on the issues that matter most to them. And I would also, to piggyback off your point, you have to be in a pretty privileged position, like those in the media are, to think that January 6th and democracy is the reason you're going to go and cast your vote for this candidate or the other. That's a very privileged position to be in. Most Americans, thanks to her and Joe's economy, are not in that position. But she's struggling because she doesn't have authenticity. And that matters to every group across the board. It even matters to young people. And we're seeing that she's doing well with young people, but not as well as she could be, because people can sniff that out. She's got a different accent every group she talks to. She relies on the talking points, and she comes across as unprepared and messy. This last week has been messy, not just because there's 2 major hurricanes and it's very tone deaf to go on Colbert and call her daddy, but also because in every interview we get a different Kamala. There is no structure there, and she comes across as very chaotic. People don't want chaos right now, and they're going to remember that in 3 weeks.
No doubt. And look, she had a decent debate. She had the help of 2 moderators there. She can read off a teleprompter. We've seen that. She had a fine DNC. But lately, it's been different. And yesterday, I watched Trump. Yesterday, I watched Obama. And they were both very fluid on the campaign trail. They're both very natural. They're used to it. And then Kamala Harris, it's clunky, it's awkward. I mean, for someone running a vibes campaign, the vibe right now is awkward. All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.